Hey everybody, namaste. Thank you for joining me in this small space. Today I want to give you some tips on practicing downward dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana, or also known as DD. This is a pose that we normally come to in Vinyasa Yoga as a transition pose or also an assimilation pose between poses. And it's a very beneficial pose to give the body some time to absorb the benefits of the poses that we're practicing in between, but also at times it can be confusing and even very tiring because we're not used to taking all this weight into the hands, or maybe our body doesn't really understand the pose, so we don't have a good time in it, especially when we begin to practice. So for this, I wanted to share, and also on request of many of you, some tips on how to make it feel good, make it feel better. First tip would be the hands. So it's important to really stretch all the fingers and the web in between so that you feel that your hands are really connected to the earth. Middle finger more or less pointing forward, and then the index finger mound really rooted. Then the outer or the pinky finger mound, the lower part of the hand, and the thumb mound also rooted. So it would be the four corners of the hand, both hands. Then the separation of the hands would be right underneath of the shoulders. So if you come to your mat and you try it out, it would be this stance, right underneath of the shoulder. Second tip would be to focus on the length of your spine. So you know how if you come to this pose, which is called child's pose, can you see the length of my spine? Spine is stretched. We try to keep this length in downward facing dog. So we tuck the toes under, then we press the hands, as I said, in the four corners. Activate one forearm towards the other so you feel all of the muscles in your arms active. At first it might be hard because we don't feel so strong in the arms. This is why we really need to activate the forearms towards each other and wake up those muscles. And then keeping the spine long, belly to thighs, we stretch the hips up and back and bring ourselves into the pose. So first thing you need to notice here is that you have more or less equal weight in your hands and your feet. Then the next thing to do, or step 3, would be to try to stretch the heels towards the floor, to try to give some length to the legs. But if stretching the legs round your spine, then I strongly advise for you to keep your knees bent and keep stretching those hips up and back. Eventually you will gain the flexibility to be able to straighten the back and also the legs. So again, I repeat, if your back is rounding and you feel that you're not lengthening, you bend your knees, you stretch your hips back, and then you work on moving and stretching the heels towards the floor without rounding the back. Try to find a balance between collapsing completely down in your shoulders and staying a little bit bouncy there in your armpits. So it's middle ground. Head is super relaxed, so you're not tensing the muscles. The gaze is towards your toes or towards your belly button. And you feel your core here engage, so Uddiyana Bandha there. And you breathe here. Fourth step, if you want to check out your length, optimal length would be hands right underneath of the shoulders and toes right underneath of the heels, because we use this pose to transition to other poses like Chaturanga and other poses. So length has to be correct. Yes? If you ever feel that this pose is challenging, you take 2 breaths or so, and then you can take the rest of the pose in the child's pose until you feel stronger, so that you can hold the pose for more breaths, even 5 or even 10. So I hope these tips help you to have a more comfortable downward dog, and that you can feel your hands root and your arms stronger every time, the connection and the communication between all the parts of the body. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to send me an email at alessasuluna@gmail.com, or come to one of my classes and we can talk about this in person. It will be nice to see you, meet you, and discuss your sensations or any doubts. Thank you for tuning in and have a great rest of your day. Namaste.